What's going on, everybody? In this video, we're going to talk about finding the measures of central tendency. And quite simply, all the measures of central tendency, or another way we could say is the measures of center, are our mean, our median, and our mode. Before we jump into our examples, what I really want to do is I want to talk about what each one of these are and how we really kind of find them. Now, mean, everybody's heard of this before. The other name for it is our average. And this is very simple. All you do for this is we add all of our terms and then divide by the number of terms that we have. All right, average is very easy to find. It's very useful. But again, all we have to do is we add up all of our terms and then we divide that total by the number of terms that we have. The next one that we have is our median. This is our middle number. So it's our middle number, also known as Q2. But our middle number, in order to find the median, the most important thing that I must do is put all numbers in order from least to greatest. And for this example, for the problems in this video, you'll see that all the numbers are already placed in order from least to greatest, but most of the time they're not. So you have to remember before we start these, it's good practice to go ahead and put your numbers in order from least to greatest. Once I do that, I can find my middle number by simply crossing off each side until I wind up with whatever number is in the middle. And we'll see that in the upcoming examples as well. And finally, our mode. This is our most used number. So it's whatever number occurs the most within our data set. Okay, so knowing these small little definitions, let's go ahead and jump straight into our first example. So we want to find the measures of center for the following data set. Now again, before I do anything, I want to go ahead and find and put my numbers in from least to greatest. So if you look at our numbers, they all start from the smallest number and they'll end with the largest number. And that's exactly what I want to happen. So when I find the mean, what I want to do is I want to take each number and I want to add them. So most of you are going to do this in your calculator, and I'm just going to do 4 plus 4 plus 12 plus 18 plus 18 plus 20, plus 20 plus 20 plus 21, and I'm going to add all of these numbers up, and that is definitely 26. And then once I get to this point, what I'm going to do is I'm going to divide by however many numbers we have. So as I count them, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And I'm going to divide that sum by 12. And so whenever we add all of those numbers up, I'm going to get 216, and then we're going to divide that by 12. And that gives me 18, and that is my mean. And sometimes you may see your mean written as X bar. That means mean, that means average. So that's how we find our mean. We add up all of our numbers and then we divide by however many numbers we have. So now what I want to do is I want to find my median. So my median is my middle number. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start crossing off all of my numbers from each end until I wind up with the number in the middle. So I'm going to cross off, cross off, cross off, and I'm going to keep that pattern until I wind up with either 1 or 2 numbers in the middle. And in this particular case, we wound up with two numbers in the middle. So the way that I do this is I take my two numbers and I find the average of those two numbers. So I'm going to do 20 plus 20 divided by, and I have two numbers. 20 plus 20 is 40 divided by 2 gives me 20. And so my median is 20. And that's easy. So again, my median is the middle number, and it's kind of easy to visualize because 20 and 20, what number would fall in between those two? Well, the same number, 20. And finally, I want to find my mode. So remember, my mode is what number is used the most. So as I go through and count up my numbers, I have 2 4s, I have 2 18s, I have 1, 2, 3 20s, and that's it for the number pairing. So since 20 is used the most times, since 20 is used 3 times, my mode will be 20. And that's it. That's my measures of center. So sometimes we may ask you guys to find what's called the range. And I'm just throwing this in here as a new thing. This is not necessarily part of the measures of center, but sometimes range is included. And our range is simply our maximum minus our minimum. Well, what does that mean? Well, your maximum is the largest number, and your minimum is the smallest number. So I'm going to take those and say 30 minus 4, and that gives me 26. And 26 is my range of the data. So just kind of a nifty little piece of information that we may see asked from time to time. But for the most part, our mean, our median, and our mode are our measures of center, and that's how we find them. So let's look at one more example. I want to find the measures of center for the following data set. And so this time, again, I want to make sure that my numbers are ordered from least to greatest, and they are. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to find my mean, and I'm going to take all of my numbers, so 1.5 plus 3.0 plus 4.5, and we're just going to add them all up again. And oftentimes, students or people in general just kind of get freaked out over decimals, and you don't need to worry about that too much. The decimals are not a big deal. We're going to handle them the same way that we would with everything else. But I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 numbers. And so we're going to divide this by 9. Well, when I add up the numerator, I get 40.5. Take 40.5 and divide that by 9, and we get 4.5. I'm sorry. And just to be safe, I want to make sure that I have that added up. I apologize, this will take a second, but 4.6, 5.1, 5.2, 5.4, 5.6, 5.7. Uh-oh, it's not going to be 40.5. It's actually going to be 40.6. And it will change our data up a little bit. Divide that by 9, and we get 4.51. And just depending on how your teacher may ask you to round, regardless, that gives me my mean, or another way we can say mean is X bar. All right, so I apologize about that. But our mean is 4.51, which is the average of the data set. Next, we have our median, which again is our middle number. And we're going to find that middle number by crossing off a number on each end and alternating that until I wind up with one number in the middle or 2. In this particular case, we wound up with one number, which is nice because I don't have to do anything else, and we get our median being 5.1. And finally, I want to find my mode. Remember, my mode is my most used number. I'm looking through, and I actually don't have a number used more than one time. So we can't actually say that it's 0 because 0 is a number, right? So when we don't have a mode, we simply say no mode. And that's it. That's our measure of center. But math is never done, right? Let's try just one more quick thing. See if we remember from the last example. Our range is our max minus our min. Well, here we're going to take 5.7 because that is our maximum number, and we're going to subtract our minimum, which is 1.5. And when I subtract those from each other, I get 4.2. And that's my range. So thanks for checking out this video. I hope you feel a lot more comfortable with finding the measures of center. It's very easy. But be sure to check out the other videos for the statistics piece, and we'll see you next time.